So hi there, this is Gamer Dom. First of all, two apologies. First up, sorry if my coughing and what have you gets annoying in this video. I have still got a stinking cold which just seems to be getting worse and worse. But I wanted to do a video because one of my subscribers asked me what I thought about the T54 Mod 1. Just Your Average Pleb was his name, which is a great name for a player in this game. And the second apology is that I was trying to do this as a live game, so playing, talking and everything else, but I think it was just beyond my cold addled brain and I kept screwing up the commentary or the shooting or whatever I was doing, so I've resorted to doing it as a replay. And I'm trying out this new format, so you need to let me know whether you think it works. Rather than spending 20 minutes talking about the tank in the game, I'll try and talk about it as I play. So the T54 Mod 1, it's a tier 8 Russian medium premium tank. You can see immediately one of its biggest failings, and that's its speed. And I sat there too long and waited to be shot, and sure enough, a T54 Mod 1 shot me. So yeah, it's a little bit underpowered as a vehicle. It will only has a 520 horsepower engine. It's quite heavy, so its top speed is supposed to be 44, but you need a good old run up to get to 44 in it. And as you saw coming up that slope, it takes a fair bit of grunt, which this tank doesn't really have. Its real strengths lay in two areas really. One is the fact that it is it's an extremely well armoured medium tank. It has this extra plate, a bit like the Pershing really. Can I get this? No, he's moving too quick. It's at very long range and he's moving very quickly. A bit like the Pershing, it has a load of extra armour bolted on the front plate of this tank, which gives it a very, very impressive 120 millimeters of frontal armour. Come on, Jagto, your history. I must have hit him. He's still rolling, but he's in real trouble. He's tracked, stopped. Can I finish him? Yes, I can. Yeah, nice. So yeah, it has a sort of bolted on armour, which gives it 120 millimeters of hull armour on the front, and it's very, very well sloped. So this tank will manage outrageous bounces from time to time. Its side armour is 90, and its rear armour is 45, so it can do a certain amount of side scraping against not too heavy tanks. Oh, that was a poor shot, but I knew he was pulling back. Can I get another shot before he goes? Yes, I can, right to the side of his turret, which he conveniently turned the other way, so I got it into his side. So the turret on the 54 is 180 on the front, which is also extremely good. So this sort of position where I am now, a bit hull down, is actually not a bad one for it, as long as you don't need gun depression, because that's another weakness of this tank. Gun depression on it is pretty poor. So good armour, good turret armour, and quite rounded. 120 on the side of the turret even, so still very, very good. Mobility is bad. It's quite a low profile tank as well, which means its camo is pretty good. Now let's talk about the gun, as I try and hit this Panther, and I do, as he tries to pull back, but he's got no chance even at that angle. His lower plate is history. So when I first bought this tank, and I played sort of 110 or so games in it now, and when I first got it, it only had AP round of penetration of 175, which was very... Can I get the side of it? No, he's turned it back. I'm above him, so I should be able to, yeah, should be able to put it into his upper. So anyway, yeah, when I first got this gun, this tank, it only had a penetration of 175, which was a bit on the low side, to be honest, for a tier 8 tank, especially one without preferential that can see tier 9 and 10 tanks. side of the... that was a poor shot. I should have put it into the side of his turret, but I thought he was going to pull back. I'm now going for the lower plate, and I don't know where that shot went. So 183 is the new value for armor piercing on this gun, which is actually very good for a tier 8. Very good indeed. And if you want to spam the gold, it does 235 penetration, which is extremely good. Damage 250 average, which is okay, perfectly acceptable. So it has a pretty good firing time as well. It's about 7.5 rounds per minute, which gives it a very good DPM. Very good DPM. One of its other problems, and you may have noticed already, is I've already down. I mean, we're only halfway through this game. Here we go, Panther. You're in trouble, mate. Put one into him. Can I finish him off? Need somebody else finish him off. Tiger, you're dead next. Lower plate, easy. So even with a standard 183, that angled... Oh, and I just bounced the... Ronati didn't like me. So WZ fired gold at me. Heater shell, and I managed to turn just in time and take it on the front plate and bounce it. So there you see the armour's pretty effective. One of the problems I was just saying is ammo capacity. If you see, we're coming towards the end of this game now, but I've only got 7 rounds of armor piercing left in my gun. It only carries 34 rounds, and I have had games where I have run out of shells in this tank. 34 rounds is not a lot. I only carry 2 rounds of HE. You see, it's a good gun when you actually aim in. Aim time on it is good. Just 2.4 is its aim time. Dispersion is 0.36, so even at range it's not too bad. Now I do use gun lane drive on this, and I've got a pretty good crew, so you know, bear that in mind when you look at the values. But you know, I think it's an okay distance sniping gun. It's also quite good up close. So that Panther doesn't like me. Does not like me. It's the second shot he's had on me. This time he didn't do any damage, so but he's there. Can I put a shot into him? I don't know whether I can see him from here. Yes, I can. Oh yes. About 230 odd damage is a high roll for this gun, and we've done okay in this. We took a while to get warmed up, trying to get some of the long range shots onto the side of the heavies as they go down the 9-0 line. Took a couple of early hits which didn't need to, but you know, already bounced the Panther 88, so it's good. So let's see, we're going to head on round over this side, see what we can catch up on. There should be that LTTB should be whizzing around here somewhere. There he is. And in fact I didn't spot him initially until he fired at me, I think. Oh no, there he is. Yeah, there he is. So can I hit him? And I don't quite know what happened to that shot, but whatever. Our T37 wants to get the kill. Instead he gets killed. Right, we've got him now. There we go. So there you go. So that was not a bad result. Not the best I've had in this game, this tank, but it was a 3rd class mastery. Bruiser, fighter, and fire for effect. We finished 3rd on experience, 3rd on damage, so you know, that's pretty good. Fired 22 of our 34 rounds, so you know, that was 8 minutes long, much longer, and we wouldn't have much left in our storage to fire. So we hit with 15 of them and penetrated with 12 of them, so that increased penetration from 175 to 183 is good. Makes a big difference with this tank. We did 2,300 damage, which is not bad at all. We took 3 hits, only 1 of which penetrated, and you will find that you bounce a lot of shells. I have on occasion bounced 2,000-3,000 hit points of damage in this tank. That frontal armour and that turret is really good at bouncing shots, and people don't expect that you can bounce as much as you can. The mod is not that common a tank. I'm not sure why, but it isn't. You do find people not entirely sure where to hit it. Really, with that frontal armour, the best thing to do is to get around the flank and the side of flank and rear of this tank. It doesn't have the mobility to respond, so a medium tank or even a light tank can get around you very quickly, because it's just not good enough at dealing with those sort of nippy tanks that are out there. But it was a good game, and you know, again, the reason for buying a premium generally is crew training and increased XP and credits, and the mod is a really good credit generator. So that was a reasonable game, but we netted 73,000 credits, and even after costs, and we fired a couple of APCR rounds in there, we still made best part 55,000 credits, which is really good. In terms of experience, 1,300 was received. I think there's a dub ×2 at the moment, so we made nearly 3,000 experience for our crew on that tank, which just shows how good a credit and experience generator this tank is. Let's have another look at another. So here we are on El Haluf. It's a tier 8 game. I'm going back to doing the live review here. Hopefully, because I've done most of this talking on the last video, hopefully I can actually string a few words together and actually play the game without being a complete donkey. So let's see. Time will tell, of course. So we're going to head up. There's only 4 heavies on each side, and you can guarantee at least one of them will camp. So we're going to play it being sort of heavies. I'm going to head along here. So, well, they can out sprint a Super Pershing, but yeah, it doesn't say much, does it? So we're rattling along. We're doing 44, which is our maximum speed, although we did hit 45 there at one point. Should I go around this way? Let's go around this way. Risky, I know, but I want to get up into a good position. Now, the gun depression is not great on this tank. However, more than likely there'll be somebody sitting up the other side of this hill here, and that CDC is going to take the corner spot. Of course he is. Thank you very much, Mush. I know it's just going to back into me. That's really nice. Jesus. Thank you very much. Oh, there's an enemy CDC down there, that's why. So we bounced the light tank. Well, it's not surprising, but we took a big hit from the Jag Panther, which is slightly annoying, because I shouldn't have done. We took another one, and that was even more annoying. So that's not an exchange I'm going to win. So sometimes you just have to back out and say, okay guys, you do your stuff. I'm just going to wait here for a bit. Just make sure he's tracked, he's spotted rather. Tracked. Could go and have you on that CDC over there, I suppose. But there are 3 arty in play. Oh, it's a WZ coming around that way, isn't there? Well, that's a bit sneaky beaky. I bounced on the side armor, of course I did. Excuse me. We'll just try to keep him spotted at this stage. Now we can have a shot because he's not looking. What he was thinking of down there, I really don't know. But whatever. He's lost my game. So can we push on up, see what we can do? Oh, there's a 28 there. Got into the back of him. I bounce the Jag Panther because this time he's firing up at me. Another one into him. Another suicidal. Let's try if we can get alongside him. Got him. So there's enough mobility if you get the opportunity, and a slope, frankly, which I did there. He did give it to me really there. He shouldn't have come down that slope. I don't know what he was thinking of. So can we get a rear shot on the T54? But there's bound to be something hiding down the back here. Always is. No, there isn't. Always is, except this time. So I would like to. Always there. Does he know I'm here? How's him out? Ah, he's got me. Oh well. So I put a couple of shots into the back of his turret. I couldn't really run down and have a real grapple with him because there was that Chinese tank there, the OI, which would have just blatted me. So it's not looking so hot over this side. That IS-6 is in trouble. He's all alone against two heavies. He needs some support. He's dead. Okay, so oh blimey, we've just lost SU-101 because he got artied. Pershing looks knackered. I think we're going to lose this game, which is a real shame because I think I actually had quite a good game there. So while we're talking, so finer points of the T54 Mod 1. It's a nice low profile premium Russian tank. The frontal armour on it is very, very good indeed. It can take it can bounce quite a lot of shots off it. The turret's pretty good too, so if you can get down and hold down position, you will bounce shots off the turret. However, it's slow for a medium. Not critically, not really slow, but it's slow enough that you notice it. I mean, you saw in that game there, I managed to flank a TD, but if it had been another medium, yeah, would have struggled. So it's slow to accelerate, and it's doesn't have the very best top speed. So other problems with it are it has very, very low ammo capacity, only 34 rounds, which just is not enough really. So you have to make shots count. You can't just spam shots around. The recent buffing of its penetration on its standard rounds makes the gun quite effective. 183 penetration with its standard AP, 250 average damage is pretty good. As a tier 8, it probably puts it somewhere in the middle of the pack. It's not as good as something like a CDC, but it's not bad at all. This T54 is going to die because there's 3 RT. Well, no, they missed that one. Missed it. But he's missed the easy shot. So yeah, and the APCR on it is very, very good indeed. It has penetration of 235, which is good, very good. And you need to turn left or turn right, Mister. Yeah, geez, it's going to die. 235 penetration is pretty good. And it's on this shoes. So I'm held up by the game now. 235 for the APCR round, 250 damage, which is pretty good. Dispersion on the move, dispersion of the shot rather, is okay as well. That is, he can't possibly get out circled by that thing, can he? Oof. That was Artie, our own Artie, just hit him. Oh my goodness. Wow, we're going to lose this game. I thought we were. So yeah, it is a nice premium. I think since the buff, it's helped it a lot, make it much more playable, I guess. But it's still lacking when it comes up against tier 10s. Now you could say, well, it's a tier 8, what do you expect, kind of thing. Well, yeah, that's true. However, I think some other tier 8s are maybe slightly better suited to fighting against tier 10s than this thing is, because it just can't. And that M40 just took the shot, I guess, to save himself rather than sort of save the game, so we just lost. I guess I can't fault him there, but well. So there you go. That's the T54 first prototype, or T54 Mod 1. And it's not a bad little premium. It's relatively cheap as well, which is good compared to some of the other premiums that Wargaming offer at tier 8. It's, what is it, basically £25 UK in the shop at the moment. Let's have a look, see whether it's how much it is in gold. Let's shut that down for a minute. Where are we? Tier 8. There it is. 8,750 gold to buy this thing. Let's go back and have a look at the results again. So yeah, it's a nice vehicle. I did what did I get there? Sharpshooter and fire for effects. I finished second on my team in terms of experience, second on damage. Only bounced nearly 500 off the armour, which is a bit low actually for this tank. Received 5 hits, 3 of them penetrated, 2 didn't. So you will bounce stuff in this. I fired 11 shots, 9 of which, all 11 hit, 9 of which penetrated and did that 2,000 damage with that. And even on a loss, I made 50,000 credits after costs, after rebuilding the tank. I didn't fire any APCR, so that helps with the profit. Made 855 experience out of that on a loss again. So, you know, I like the Mod 1. I think it's a nice looking tank. It's low profile. You can see that sheet of metal that's been bolted on the front here, and look at that angle. So that's why if you can get in a position where you can angle it a bit, shots that come off here will just ricochet away. There's just no way they're going to pen. And even that lower plate is quite well angled. So somebody looking straight at this tank, there's not an awful lot to fire at. The turret's very well armoured. so we'll bounce. The gun mantle here is pretty big, so that also is a ricochet zone. So unless it's a very big gun, it's going to have hard work penetrating this thing, and that's really what the strength of this tank is. Good thick armour, pretty reasonable gun now since the buff, really well sloped armour, low profile, which means it's quite hard to hit. APCR rounds are very, very good in it, but they need to be, because you're going to go up against tier 10s from time to time. Problems with it: very low ammo capacity. So yeah, I've got 21 rounds of standard, 11 of APCR and 2 of HE. 34 rounds is very low. Acceleration on this tank is very poor, and for a tier 8 medium, its top speed's not great either. It's also one of the things, it's a little bit low on hit points, I believe. 130 hit points. Let's see. No, maybe that's another thing. They've got a buff as well, because that doesn't look too bad. I'm looking at the don't look at the 54. So the T54, which is a standard tier 8 medium, has 1,300. Let's just have a look at some of the other mediums that are out there that I've got. STA2 has more hit points, okay. The T54-3 has the same. Patton has slightly more. 1,400 on the Patton KR. So it looks like the mod has received a buff in terms of hit points as well, so that's good, because 1,300 is a slightly on the lower side, but it's within the acceptable ranges, I guess. So is it a good tank? I think it's a pretty good tank. I think it's a good fun tank. It's a really good credit generator. It's a really good credit generator. You saw in that last game, even on a loss, I made 50,000 credits, which is not to be sneezed at. So, so your average pleb, I quite like it as a tank. I think it's got a lot of attributes. It's going to be hard to carry a game in this vehicle. It's just not good enough for that. As a brawling sort of medium, it's actually very good. But you come up against tier 10s and you're going to struggle, really struggle. I think I said in one of the replays just then, when I was looking to do this, I played a few games on it yesterday, and I kept getting hit tier 10s, and I kept getting trounced. It's a really hard tank to deal with tier 10s in, especially if you're in a city or a corridor type map. It's really hard, because your armor is absolutely worthless against those sort of vehicles, and you just don't have the mobility. But you know, it's not a bad vehicle. But that said, I like it. I think it's a good tank, good premium, and it's an enjoyable drive. So you know, you make your choices. Let me know what you think though, if you've got it, if you think it's good. I think the buffs have obviously helped it. But if you've got one and you know, swear by it, let me know what you think. What the best tactics for using it. I find I kind of flip between sniping and brawling in it. So anyway, thanks for watching. Sorry for the croaky voices and coughing, but you know, I'm struggling along with man flu. Take care out there, enjoy yourselves, remember it is just a game, and see you again another time. Cheers.